Hi, I'm Laurel Cassidy. I am the Rainbow Brights wrestler, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, bringing you the latest exclusive breaking news, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy. Use promo code WrestlingWithE for 10% off your next purchase. I am, of course, your host, that guy, James J., alongside the leader of Squash Squad, Calico Yachts, and the American Scooter Dust, who was unfortunately not here this week, Dots and Pros with Scooter. But who is actually here? The Canadian sensation from the Gr8ful Yardy Podcast, Drew.
What is up, universe? It is I, the Grateful One himself, coming to you live and direct from the studio apartment in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada.
And it is a great day for wrestling. As last week on the show, we interviewed Laurel Cassidy, who's actually from your side of the woods, for a Canadian girl.
All right.
Yeah, and it's great to interview a great young talent that maybe hasn't had her moment yet, but you could kind of tell that there's something there and she will eventually get it. Next week on the show, this Wednesday, we got Germany's best kept secret, Lori, on the show, and she's our first interview from England, and it's definitely not one you want to miss. The secret should be out now. Lori's an incredible wrestler, and we have a really fun chat. And if you don't believe me, here's a little snippet of that interview.
There's another one. It was in England as well. I think we were on tour for All-Star Wrestling, like doing the camps, like the summer season. And one of the dudes who was on that run was a midget. His name is his Little X, and we were just driving. It was either was he in England or it was also in France. I can't remember. And we were driving and we were just talking and this and that. And he just says, because he was part of the Harry Potter movies, we were talking about that. And I was so excited because I really like the Harry Potter stuff, you know. And I turned over to him and he just said like, oh yeah, you know, when I played in the Harry Potter movie. And I just turned over to him and I was like, oh my God, you did? What did you play? And he just goes like, a giant, Laurie, a freaking giant. And I was just like, oh my God. And I just turned over and I just felt so embarrassed, but it was just so funny in that moment because he's an idiot. And it's like that thing he just blubbered out. My partner just looked at me and going like, did you really just ask that? And I was just like, well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it in that context. I wanted to know which one of them he played. So, yeah.
All right. And the week after that, hopefully we have Miss Hannah on and Kiefer Bartek. Stay tuned to our social media for when those interviews will drop. Now that I'm done putting ourselves over, let's get into the news. Something that happened this week was PWI came out with their 500 list, and Kenny Omega topped the list. Joe, does Kenny Omega deserve this title, or do you think somebody else kind of deserved that number one spot, considering there has been controversy in the past with these lists?
Okay, first and foremost, I don't like to bury Canadians. That's my number one thing here. I don't like to bury Canadians, but I'm going to have to on this one.
Huh?
I just have not been a fan of Kenny Omega's title run in AEW, and I think the guy that is number 2 on the list should have been number 1.
Roman
That
Reigns.
is your tribal chief,
Yeah.
Roman Reigns. Since this guy has returned, this character that he has presented us with over the last 365 days, you have seen the growth of Roman Reigns. Yes, we've talked over the years, and even John Cena has said it in promos time in and time out that Roman is the guy that has to switch up for 2 years. And I think this Roman Reigns is the best Roman Reigns we got, and he should have been the number 1 guy on the PWI list. Kenny Omega, yeah, he's great in ring, but I just don't believe him as the AEW champion.
Not to mention, Kenny Omega, one of the all-time great. But he hasn't had maybe the matches that we normally see Kenny Omega have. He hasn't really lived up to that best bout moniker. He has defended the championship, but Jungle Boy, John Moxley, Christian, Roman Reigns. I mean, he beat Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, Edge, Daniel Bryan, Jimmy, Jay, more recently John Cena. It's kind of a head scratcher. Roman had maybe the better list quality of names that he ran through than Omega. No?
100%. Look at the names you've listed off, and some of those guys are no longer in the WWE. 4 of the names that you mentioned are no longer in the WWE. If we're talking about body of work from 365 days, Roman Reigns has brought it not only as a character, but his in-ring style, his presentation, the addition of the bloodline, the addition of having Paul Heyman, and even Paul Heyman doesn't have to do as much as he was doing with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to speak as much as he does with Brock Lesnar.
And doesn't that speak volumes?
Yes. Where Kenny Omega, yes, he has a mouthpiece in Don Callis, and his character is more of the cowardly heel that needs all these run-ins. So, yes, that best bout machine moniker, to me, gets erased because you haven't been in matches with the best, even in your own company. Like, if this was 2017, 2018, where he's having matches with Omega and Okada and Ishii, and the list goes on, and having these 5 and 6 and 7 star matches, yes, he warrants being number 1. But in this particular calendar year, no, I think they got the list wrong. I think, honestly, if it was me and I was giving my top 5, it would be Roman Reigns 1, Bobby Lashley 2, Drew McIntyre 3, Will Ospreay 4, and then I would put Finn Balor at my number 5. You could even say Big E had a better year than Kenny Omega. I just think because Kenny Omega is one of the EVPs in AEW, and the belt's on him, it's like he doesn't work with the belt for me. It doesn't scream superstar to me. I think he has to do all these other things like the cool jackets and being part of the elite and to make himself look good. And I think the guys over at PWI just looked at it like AEW is the hot place right now, and let's give the hot company the number 1 guy instead of looking at it who has been the top guy for the last 365 days.
And let's kind of run down the top 10 list. Kenny Omega's number 1, Roman Reigns is number 2, Bobby Lashley's number 3, Drew McIntyre number 4, 5 Kota Ibushi, 6 John Moxley, 7 Will Ospreay, 8 Finn Balor, 9 Shingo Takagi, 10 Rich Swann. Any names pop out to you, Drew?
No, actually, it's just for me. It's the number one spot. I think Kenny Omega could be in the top 10, but I don't see him as number one. I see McIntyre could be up in number one. Lashley could be in number one. Kota Ibushi. I'm looking at guys that actually carried their company throughout the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
When they had to do shows in front of nobody. And for me, the three guys that benefited the most are 2, 3, and 4 with Roman, Lashley, and McIntyre. Roman's character blew up throughout the pandemic. Same with McIntyre's character blew up throughout the pandemic. And same with Bobby Lashley winning his title during the pandemic and now having this great reign that he's been on. I just think Kenny Omega won the title in nefarious ways. And like you said, he defended it against Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, John Moxley. You know, there's nobody of substance there. It's not like he defended it against a Jericho or even a Cody Rhodes or a Darby Allin or anybody of substance, even in AEW, that people could be like, oh, they had a great match. It's just he has to do all this side nefarious things and be the cowardly heel. It doesn't, to me, just doesn't warrant him that number one spot. Roman could take it. Lashley could take it. McIntyre could take it. I'm just one name actually looking back at the list. The one name that surprised me that stayed in the top 10 is John Moxley. He kind of moved out of the title picture and was tagging with Eddie Kingston, and now he's doing
out to a degree.
Yeah, like he could be further down on the list. There's other guys that I'm looking here on the top 20 that could have easily moved up into that 6th spot. Ospreay honestly should be in the top 5. Shingo could move up in the top 5 because of what he had to do after the last time I was talking with you guys, where we talked about how that IWGP heavyweight title has bad juju, and he's still carrying it and elevating it to the best of his ability. Him at 9, I'm kind of shocked. The other name that I'm shocked about is Rich Swann, and looking at his where he was previously on the list in 2020 at 230 to get to 10. I'm trying to remember, what did he do? He wrestled Kenny Omega and lost.
He won the Impact Championship.
He won the Impact Championship, and then he lost it to Kenny Omega.
Unfortunately, the only reason I see Rich Swann at 10 is they needed somebody for Impact in the top 10. I
totally agree with that. Because then you could be here for hours, because this list obviously is 500 wrestlers, and some of the guys that are 14, 15, like Randy Orton, that's another guy in the WWE that's been an amazing character. Even being in the tag teams with Riddle there, and challenging for the title, even winning the title during the pandemic. That's another guy that could easily have been in the top 10.
He should have been in the top 10. He has had one of the best 2-year runs.
Yes.
You can even compare with Roman at this point.
Yes. Big E is another guy that could be easy in the top 10. Winning the Money in the Bank, splitting away from the New Day, and actually creating his own identity away from them.
Oh, yeah.
Karrion Kross at 16. After what they're doing to him on Raw, no. No, I'm sorry, man. If they only said Karrion Kross from NXT, Karrion Kross, okay, I can see you at 16. But what they're doing to him on Raw, I don't know. But those are some of the names that jumped out at me that, you could easily move up into the top 10. But I don't think Kenny Omega should be in that number one spot. But I understand why they put him there, because AEW right now is the hottest place to be, and he is the champion, and all of the other accolades that he has done over the last 3, 4, 5 years, being the best belt machine and all that. Yeah, I could see it, but to me personally, I'm just not a fan of it.
I think we should move on, because we could be here all night talking about this.
Yes, we could. Yes, we could.
And a bit of good news this week. Al Snow actually saved a child from drowning. Usually wrestling is not always shown in the best light, in the media and news. So it's really great just to hear, a feel-good story about a wrestler doing something good in his community. No, Drew?
Yes, 100%. Remember last year, May, we lost Shad Gaspar to a drowning incident after he was trying to save his own son.
Yes.
So a year and plus a little year after the fact that Al Snow, a wrestler, being able to save a child's life, that's an amazing thing. It's as you said, wrestling has always been painted in the bad light, that fake thing, or it's been talked down to. It's like for the lesser class, stuff like that we've heard over the years, especially a guy like me that has had to defend his love for professional wrestling for many years.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just cool to be able to, when you turn on a TMZ or anything like that, and it's not a negative wrestling story where we're talking about somebody has passed away or somebody's caught up in legal problems, to actually hear that, hey, this wrestler Al Snow saved the child's life. Big ups to it, man. It's an amazing story to hear. And like I said, after last year losing Shad Gaspar to a drowning incident, it's just a heart-wrenching story to hear that somebody in professional wrestling doesn't have to be looked at like they're not human. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so kudos to it.
A little bit of big news. WWE signed Olympic gold medalist Gable Stevenson. Which is a little bit interesting because you kind of get that Kurt Angle vibe with, Angle coming out 3 years after winning his gold medal to WWE. You see that Stevenson will be maybe following in that footsteps, or do you think it's gonna take him maybe a little bit while to adapt? Because, not everybody's a Kurt Angle.
No, not everybody's Kurt Angle. Not everybody's a Brock Lesnar. Not everybody's a Shelton Benjamin. I'm talking about these guys that left the amateur ranks and went into pro wrestling. As a former amateur wrestler in high school, don't look it up. I don't think, for me personally, now in 2021, if I was an amateur wrestler, I would be looking to go into the WWE, because, to be honest with you, I see him being in developmental for a long time. I really think he is part of that new initiative down in NXT. His signing is that new initiative. We're not going after the guys that have been on the indies for 13, 14, 15 years. We're not going after the Adam Coles. We're not going after the Kyle O'Reillys and the Samoa Joes anymore. We're going to actually go and recruit guys and girls that want to be WWE superstars, and that we can have them learn our system so that they can be the next superstar for them for years to come. I don't know how old Mr. Stevenson is, but I'm just prepared that he's not going to be pushed to the moon like how Kurt Angle was. And I think Kurt Angle caught on to wrestling very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he was in, maybe he was in Memphis. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on it, but I don't think he was in Memphis that long, or any of their developmental programs at that time for that long. He caught on to it very quick. And that's why when Ronda Rousey came in and I watched her first match at WrestleMania that year, I'm like, man, she caught on to this very quickly. And it's like, if you're an athlete, it's a lot different slamming somebody on a 20 by 20 in a 20 by 20 ring compared to the mats in wrestling, because the mats are unforgiving. That's why I always loved Walter with the mat is sacred. Yes, it is. But I just think it's their new initiative to just introduce some new talent instead of going after the guys and girls that have been on the indies for up to the amount of years, have been taking reps, riding the roles, knowing who their character is. I just think this is a way they grab this guy. He's fairly young. You put him in their system. You can groom into what you want him to be, and then take it from there.
No, and not so great news. Triple H suffered a mild cardiac event as it was released by WWE. Well, basically, what they're saying is that he had a heart attack and was in the hospital for about a week ago, and possibly had a procedure. I mean, their tweet was very
It was
cryptic.
vague. It was very vague.
Yeah.
It was very vague. It was very vague.
Is WWE downplaying something that might be a little bit more severe than we had anticipated?
Yes. I think what is going on is that he had a heart attack and they're just not putting it out there. I think he had a heart attack. He had to have a mild procedure. They're saying that he will make a full recovery,
which is good.
But I don't really think you'll ever see Triple H wrestle in a ring ever again, to be honest with you. I think we're at the stage. Look, who's taking over NXT this coming Tuesday? It's Vince and Bruce Pritchard. Yeah, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Matt Bloom, and William Regal will still be in their positions, but Vince and Brother Love are going to be the ones that are producing the show. So who knows if this is something that the stress of it all on Paul Levesque, it came down on him and gave him a massive heart attack. He's 52 years old. That's not old.
No, that's not
that is not old. And for him they're saying it's it's a genetic heart issue that he's had over the years. And here's the thing. You remember when he had his quad injury and he came back and he looked uber huge? Like he looked too big?
Yeah.
I think that was what, 2002?
2002.
Yeah. And he looked like, honestly, I was saying that to friends at the time, like, oh, he looks too big. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, he's on some roids, man. We all know use of roids can cause heart problems. So what if, this is just my devil's advocate Spocky and eyebrow coming out there, what if he was trying to present himself to come back as Triple H for a match down the road, right?
Yeah.
They're going to Saudi Arabia, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So what if one of the Saudi guys said, hey, we want to see Trips in a match, and he's getting all prepared, and he took it too far, man. This is what could happen to you. And especially years of on and off steroid use. I'm not suggesting that I know that Paul Levesque is on steroids, but after seeing him in 2002, after that injury, and he looked way too big. Yes, we know he hits the gym and he works out. Him and Vince are on the same kind of workout regimen thing, but I just think they are downplaying what's going on because you know why? I bet you any money if he's fully healed by, I believe, when are they going to Saudi Arabia?
Next month, I believe.
Or October.
October, November.
That's kind of pushing it after a heart attack to see this guy come back. But if they really want him there, WWE is going to downplay it in such a way that, okay, he's cleared. We'll get our doctor to clear him.
Yeah.
And even if it's him wrestling whoever on the card, Randy Orton or whatever, the Saudi guys don't care. They'll take it. But that's what I think is going on. They're downplaying it because they're setting up for him and other old guys to wrestle over in Saudi. But hopefully, prayers with him. Hopefully, he can have a full recovery and live a long life and do some amazing things. Because he's one of the smart minds in the business. Look what he did with NXT.
Oh yeah.
It's just sad that we're no longer going to see it the way that we used to see it and why we fell in love with NXT. You know what I mean? It's not going to be the same.
Well, I like your scenario that he might have been training for an in-ring comeback. My initial thoughts was, NXT is getting this revamp that is kind of makes his hands come off of it to a degree. AEW had that unbelievable pay-per-view, and they lost Adam Cole. So to that degree, it kind of felt like, there was a lot of going on, and maybe he just couldn't manage the pressure, the stress. But it could very likely be what you were saying as well.
It's splitting hairs. We're sitting here speculating, right? So my first thing was I thought the same way you did, and I'm like, maybe it could be that you're heartbroken because you literally. We all remember what NXT was after ECW after they ended the whole ECW thing, and then it was the reality show and all that stuff that we got some amazing superstars from. Don't get me wrong. But when Triple H took over NXT and then he started going into the indies and grabbing the Adam Coles and grabbing this Kevin Steens and the Samoa Joes and all those guys, and it became like a super indie. That's what NXT became. NXT became a super indie where it's selling out the Barclays Center and all this kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden, your father-in-law, because you lost to AEW on Wednesday nights, says, you ain't good enough anymore, pal. I'm taking it over. That could break your heart.
Oh,
and if this is a genetic thing, who knows if this put him over the top and just had a massive heart attack. I really think, to be honest with you, I think that he is getting ready for an in-ring return when they go to Saudi. That's what I really think. I really think because we all know who always goes to the Saudi shows. It's always the older guys. It's never they never put like a young guy on the card. You're not going to see Ricochet wrestle on the Saudi card. It's always like, oh, let's call Triple H. Let's get Shawn to wrestle. Let's get, a few years ago was Undertaker. And
Ricochet wrestle Brock Lesnar in Saudi Arabia for the championship?
Yeah, why not? You're signed up with them for the next 10 years. Why not? It's just, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, the NXT thing is like the obvious. But I really think you got to look at it the other way, where he is a competitor. He hasn't stopped. Like, he hasn't said, I'm done, I'm retired, I'm no longer coming in the ring, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
It's just that he hasn't been in the ring because really and truly there hasn't really been a story for him to be in the ring. He's been more focused on doing the stuff down in NXT. And now that that's been taken away, what else is there for Paul Levesque to do?
Absolutely.
And as a wrestler or in this industry, you're creative. So if your creative narrative or your creative juices have been taken away from you and you no longer can create, you're going to lose your mind. Like, he knows he can no longer, what can we do with Samoa Joe? Or what can I do with LA Knight? Like he can't book anymore. That's taken away. Vince is going to be booking it. So, yeah, that could break his heart and cause him to have a massive heart attack because what you've known for the last how many years he's been down in NXT and all the people that you've groomed and this, that, and the third. And another thing, too, that could hurt with him is that all the guys that he has made down in NXT that have gotten called up to the main roster have been made to look like shit.
Yep.
My French. But they have. Not one of those guys that have been called up to the main roster have been booked the same way.
And essentially, they're grooming them for other independent shows like AEW and Impact.
Yes.
Making them bigger stars just so they could go to somewhere that could be more beneficial to them than WWE at this point.
Yeah.
And of course, thoughts and prayers to him and his family. Hopefully, he has a full recovery soon. We'll conclude with the news for now, and we will get into our reviews in a moment. First, a quick word from our sponsors.
Calorie, no sugar energy formula is the perfect alternative to sugar-filled canned energy drinks and sodas. Their extreme formula provides the most energy, focus, and sports performance possible. Their hydration line offers focus, ingredients without the added caffeine. Drink it anytime you're thirsty. And their shake formula is so delicious. Who doesn't love a cookies and cream, 0-calorie energy milkshake? First and foremost, they've designed every Rogue product line with performance and effectiveness in mind. It is critical that you look at the nutrition panels of drinks when comparing options. There are countless off brands out there that are presenting low quality, poorly dosed formulas that amount to expensive caffeine water. Every formula they produce is designed with optimal levels of high quality ingredients. Additionally, you won't find a powdered gaming drink brand that dissolves better. No need to have chalky textures in your drink. Their taste profiles are unmatched, specifically designed for gamers, athletes, students, entrepreneurs, people with hectic schedules, individuals with low energy, podcasters who can't shut up, people who are health conscious, and so much more. Great as both a pre-workout and as a coffee energy drink replacement. Specifically designed every Rogue product line to be the best gaming drink on the planet. Rogue Energy, more focus, more wins.
Use promo code WrestlingWithE for 10% off your next purchase. And we are wrestling with Wrestle Grand Slam at MetLife Dome. Night 1 and 2. This was last Saturday and Sunday. And it kind of got overshadowed for obvious reasons. But let's go down night 1, the card. The first match was Tiger Mask and Robbie Eagles, defeating Kota Ibushi and Hiromu Takahashi in 11 minutes and 40 seconds. The second match, which was an interesting one, Yo lost the show in 24 minutes and 41 seconds by referee stoppage. I believe we've had a conversation once or twice about Show and Yo splitting up, and now it's kind of full tuition, and now Show is the heel, Yo is the baby face, and there is no Roppongi 2K. What do you think about the match, and what do you think about this split?
I'm always a fan of New Japan matches. They give me something different compared to what you see in North America. But with these two guys, there's certain times I'm not a fan of the whole let's jump our former tag team partner thing. Sometimes you could easily just be like, yo, man, I want to go after some singles championship. I got nothing for love for you, brother. And you go left and I go right. We don't need to beat each other up to prove who's better than whom. You know what this match should have happened? You booked that for the G1. You know what I mean? They're on the same bracket or in the same group.
But they're like heavyweights.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? Or Best of the Super Juniors or something like that. You do it there. Like I've watched wrestling for so long. I've become so tired. Oh, these guys are a tag team. They've been tagging for like 6 years. Oh, you want to split them up? Let's turn one on each other. No, it doesn't have to be like that. But it's just, for me, again, these guys, it's a wait and see. Plus, they need new characters in New Japan. I've been saying this for months. You've heard me say it, that they need to shuffle the deck chairs. We can't keep the same guys on top over in the heavyweight side of the bracket over and over again. It becomes tiresome, and fans just get checked out.
And joined after the match. He joined Bullet Club, the new inter-faction House of Torture. It kind of seems whenever somebody turns heel in New Japan, they're heel, just throw them into Bullet Club. And honestly, I feel like it's getting a bit congested at this point. Agree, disagree?
It's the NWO 2021. That's what it is. It's the NWO 2021.
Fair enough.
Turn heel, you join the Bullet Club. It's not like you turn heel and you start your own faction, or you join another faction, or you're just on your own. Oh, you're a heel now, you're in Bullet Club. And that's why the Bullet Club itself has become watered down.
Yeah.
Because there's too many members in it. And now you don't know who, if you turn around and ask, give me 4 members other than Hall, Nash, and Hogan in the New World Order, not a lot of people are going to get that question right. This is what the Bullet Club is becoming. More people remember the founding fathers of the Bullet Club and Kenny Omega being in the Bullet Club and AJ Styles being in the Bullet Club and Gallows and Anderson being in the Bullet Club than even Kenta being in the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Or even the Gorillas of Destiny that have been in the Bullet Club since the beginning.
Yeah.
They're not even being talked about. So yeah, it's become the NWO of 2021.
The next match up, KOPW 2021 provisional match. No disqualification, I quit match. Toru Yano defeated Chase Owens in 28 minutes and 3 seconds. Toru Yano becomes the new KOP 21 holder. Honestly, great match. This wasn't, funny, haha, Yano. This was, I mean business, you took my trophy, Yano. Which I kind of appreciated.
If I was doing a worst of 2021, he would have been my worst wrestler. Toru Yano. I couldn't stand him until I got to this match. Where I'm all for comedic wrestling as they said, but if this is supposed to be something serious, then be serious about it. You don't have to be jokey, ha ha ha. It's like the 24/7 championship in WWE. It's a joke championship, and a lot of fans want to take it seriously. It's not serious. It's a joke thing. That's why R-Truth has it, and that's why they chase each other around the arena. When I tune into New Japan, when I watch New Japan, I want to see seriousness. This is a sport to me. When I watch, not Ring of Honor, when I watch New Japan, it is me watching the sport of professional wrestling. So you're doing an I Quit match for a trophy. I was glad they got away from the ha-ha, he Yano and made him serious. That's why I was pleasantly surprised with this match.
Next match, Kazuchika Okada lost to Jeff Cobb with a tour of the islands in 27 minutes and 41 seconds. Oh my god, Kazuchika Okada. It seems like he hasn't won a match since Wrestle Kingdom 2 years ago at this point. What's going on with Okada? Or are they just trying to build Cobb at the expense of Okada at this point?
They're trying to build Cobb at the expense of Okada. And also you can look at it too is, one, we got the G1 coming up. So
and they are on the same block.
Yes. Could we be looking at the redemption of Okada? He gets on a roll in the G1. He wins a couple matches. He even beats Jeff Cobb. I think the great thing that New Japan does is that they tell stories well when it comes to the tournaments. They tell stories well when it comes to the tournament. So does this loss hurt Okada? No. This elevates Jeff Cobb to a more serious status where you could see him going after the US title or the IWGP heavyweight title down the road, and it just doesn't hurt Okada because Okada's been on top for 3, 4, 5 years. So him losing match after match, it just makes him look more human and gives them a chance to build him back up using the G1 Climax tournament.
And the last match, IWGP US Heavyweight Championship match. Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Kota Ibushi with a high fly flow in 17 minutes and 47 seconds. Good match. I think both guys kind of needed a strong showing, and Tanahashi is low impact at this point, and Kota Ibushi is just coming back from that horrible bout of I can't remember what it was, but he was.
I think it wasn't COVID. It was like a pneumonia.
Yeah, a pneumonia.
Yeah, it was a pneumonia. Very, very horrible style of pneumonia. But to see him come back, wow.
And now he's back. Hopefully he stays back at this point. He's had some, health issues recently and in the past. So what do you think of Tanahashi and Okada? Tanahashi and Kota.
I think for me, if travel restrictions are slowly lifting, and Kota Ibushi can come over to the United States, I think he needs to finish up his thing with his Golden Lover tag team partner there in Kenny Omega. And to me, if they have a match in AEW down the road, that to me in this calendar year, that would cement Omega's number one ranking in the PWI. But this match, it's typical Ishii and Ibushi stuff that we've seen over and over again. And like I've been saying from time, it's just we need more guys in the heavyweight division to make things look legitimate. But I understand that the New Japan's doing their American crossover with their New Japan Strong show, and Osprey's on that, and Jay White's over here in Impact. So it's a lot of moving parts. But the match itself, it was okay, but it is what it is.
All right. On night 2, we got Tomohiro Ishii and Okada losing to Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb in 12 minutes 45 seconds. Second match, we got IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship match. Yoshinobu Kanemaru and El Desperado defeated El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori with Pince Loco in 20 minutes and 28 seconds. New tag team champions. Your thoughts?
On the tag match.
Yes.
Right. I'm recommending this match to go back and watch. It was a fantastic match. Three of them used all their moves and everything. They did an amazing showing. All these guys in this match, from Sabre Jr. to Naito to Sonata to Yoshihashi, which we know that Kaliko's totally not a fan of.
Fuck Yoshihashi.
And as he says, F Yoshihashi. Goto. If I had to recommend the match off of night 2, this would be the match I would highly recommend you tune into.
That's great, but we were talking about the Junior Tag Team Championship match.
My bad.
Phantasmo, Desperado, Kanemaru.
I jumped the gun. My bad. This match, good mix of action, high spots, and all that great stuff. So, if it more or less, honestly, if you're into tag team wrestling, this would be one match I would recommend, and the match that you're going to talk about next, I highly recommend that one too. So, two birds with one stone.
Let me formally announce the match you were talking about, IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championship 3-way match. Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi defeated Sonata and Tetsuya Naito, Yoshihashi, and Hiroki Goto in 26 minutes and 46 seconds. It seems like Naito Sonata kind of splitting their ways because G1's up. Same with Hashi and Goto. But who's really left for Taichi and Zack to wrestle for these championships? Because it kind of seems like they're men on an island alone at this point. I mean, there's some competitors in Strong, but I don't see them making the way to Japan at this point.
Great O'Khan, Jeff Cobb is an option. Guerrillas of Destiny are another option.
True.
Other than that, I don't see any other teams until you wrap up the G1 and then these guys come back together. I like that. See, that's the issue where we don't have enough, or maybe a junior tag team like El Phantasmo and Ishimori move up to heavyweight. That's another option.
That is an option.
It's just, they're kind of guys left on the island with title belts with nobody to wrestle them for them. Maybe they could wrestle each other. Tag belts, who knows? But like I said, those teams, like I mentioned, would be the teams that I would be looking at that could go and challenge for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships.
is probably the shocker of the night. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match. Robbie Eagles defeated Hiromu Takahashi with a Ron Miller special and 24 minutes and 7 seconds. How did New Japan's hottest star lose this match?
Again, booking. Bookers, darn bookers, think they know everything. Sometimes you gotta listen to the people, and they don't listen to the people. They think they're smarter than the people. So, unless you are moving, that Robbie Eagles is the hottest star right now. Am I right?
I mean, he's champion.
Okay. So it's time. I don't know why you would do this. As a booker, I'm like, why wouldn't I put the rocket on this guy? Unless you're gonna move him out of the junior heavyweight and move him up to heavyweight.
Well, the way that I saw it was, Hiromu doesn't have a lot of people to wrestle that, you could take seriously. And the second part of that is Hiromu does get hurt often nowadays. I mean, okay, you could say that the neck injury, yeah, freak accident, it came out of nowhere. But now he's continuously getting hurt. And I kind of feel like New Japan wants to test the waters, make sure he's back, and he's not going to get hurt before they put the belt on him again and having to vacate the title again. You know what I mean?
That makes total sense. I understand he right now is kind of bruised goods, and you just want to make sure that he's 100% durable before you throw a belt back on him, and he wrestles one match and then he's out again for another 6, 8, 12 months. I see it. Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. And instead of putting the belt on him now, let's get him a couple matches. As we've been saying, the G1's coming up, so that's another guy that could be sprinkling in the G1. He has a couple matches in there, win, lose, or draw, and see what happens. And then you can take it from there where it's like, okay, we built him up. Now he can probably take that junior heavyweight belt from Robbie Eagles down the road at a Wrestle Kingdom. And we'll see from there because apparently Wrestle Kingdom next year is 3 nights.
Yeah. That seems a bit overkill, no?
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
Unless you're not doing you're saying the third night is New Year's Dash.
Yeah, usually New Year's Dash was the third night.
Yeah. So unless you're saying night 3 is New Year's Dash, I think Wrestle Kingdom over 3 nights is too much. That you're overkilling it.
Yeah, I mean 2 nights. Okay, we get it. It's too big for 1 night. It's going to be 2 nights now.
Yeah.
And I kind of appreciate that because you get more people on the card. You could build more storylines, and you could have the time that everybody needs. 3 nights is just overkill.
Yeah, you're just trying to take money from people. Yeah. That's what it is. You're trying to pad your pocketbooks. You're not trying to help anybody else. You're trying to pad your pocketbooks.
And that brings us to our last match. IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match. Shingo Takagi defeated Evil in 30 minutes and 20 seconds with a Last of the Dragon. Before this match, Shingo Takagi had a bout with COVID. And this was his first match back. And that just plays to kind of what you and Kaliko said a couple weeks back ago, that this belt has some bad juju on it.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But I'm going to speak about Evil in this match. I think this was Evil's best main event match since he's turned and joined the Bullet Club, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion. I think it's his best match since he's turned heel. But the match was the same old formula that they use with the hot crowd, and they all love Shingo Takagi. And also, for me, I watched this match with the Japanese commentary, so I would recommend you watching the match with the Japanese commentary. compared to the English commentary. That's all I gotta say about that match.
Well, I understand. I completely what you're saying that this was maybe the best Evil's look since he's turned. But does it really do him any favors at this point? Because it
Hell
kind of
no,
seems
man.
like he's a joke at this point. I mean,
Yes, he's a major joke. It's like one of those heel turns that didn't work. It was an unnecessary heel turn. And like we were saying earlier, everybody was joining the Bullet Club. Everybody that he turned heel, he's in the Bullet Club. He turns on his best. He was in a faction. He turns on a faction. Let's put him in the Bullet Club. Yeah, he became a joke. Like, wasn't he like the the leader of Bullet Club at that point?
to some degree, and I kind of understand why they turned him to be Bullet Club at that very moment, because it was kind of more out of necessity than creative.
True. Very true.
But you can press that reset button. You can have, oh, I made a mistake, all is forgiven. But they haven't done that with Evil.
I think they're sticking with it. They're sticking with it. Let's see how far we can run heel Evil out there until either the fans completely turn on him and they're not about it, or they just realize that we made a horrible mistake.
Fine. We do have the G1 coming up in a couple days. Who's your main pick right now?
My main pick. Whew. Like, I'm looking at the first night block A with the matches. I'm a stickler for Ishii. I just anytime G1 season comes around, he always
has some bangles.
Sorry?
Ishii has some bangles.
Yes. Every time he's in the G1, he always puts on 3 or 4 or even 5 match of the year quality matches in this tournament.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm looking at the first night in Osaka with Block A. It's Shingo Takagi going up against Ishii. Then you got Naito and Sabre Jr., Kenta and Toriano, the Great Okan and Tangaloa, Kota Ibushi and Euro, and then there's a non-tournament match, which I don't really care about. And then the next night in Block B, we got Tanahashi Okada, Goto and Taichi, Sanada and Tamatanga, Cobb and Chase versus Chase Owens, and Evil versus Yoshihashi. That's in 2 nights.
Yes.
You're telling me how many matches? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 matches. 10 matches. There's a potential that 7 of them could be match of year quality.
Oh yeah.
That's why I love this tournament. I think this is the best wrestling tournament ever, because you never know. And always in the last 3 years, I don't know if I'm the only one that says, but Ishii always gives us some quality matches where you're like, OMG, wasn't it Ishii and I think Cobb was one of the matches last year that was up for match of the year? And I still go back and watch that match. I'm still amazed by it. But you're asking to win the whole thing, or what am I just looking forward to in general?
How about winner of the A block, winner of the B block, winner overall?
Oh, man. Okay.
I put you on the spot.
Yes, you did. Winner of the A block, I'm going to say Naito wins the A block. I think Naito wins the A block, and I think Jeff Cobb wins the B block. And I think that Naito wins the overall tournament.
I'm going... Well, as of right now, as things stand, and I could change my mind by next week, I'm going with Kenta and Okada, and Okada for the win.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning that way, but you're right. I probably changed my mind next week too. I think I changed my mind throughout this whole tournament, and then I see the standings. It's like, okay, no, but What? And then Ishii will do something. I'm like, what? He could win it. And so yeah, they don't lock me in on my choices right now. Please don't. But
I will not lock you in.
I just have a strong feeling that this tournament is going to be Okada's like redemption tournament.
Yeah.
I really think this is leading towards him winning this whole thing and having the briefcase going into one of 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom. That's the way it's leaning towards if I'm going storyline wise. But the great thing about this tournament is, even though it's pro wrestling, we have no clue who is going to come out on top.
Yes.
No clue. But just looking at the card on the first 2 nights, man, I know it's 4 o'clock in the morning for one and 1 o'clock in the morning. I will literally have my popcorn and my coffee ready to watch these matches. Trust me. New Japan World is going to be popping. Internet's going to be – I'm going to have to call my internet provider and make sure that the connection is strong. And sometimes I don't even watch this stuff in English. Sometimes I just watch it in Japanese.
Only when it's not available in English for me.
Yeah, when it's not available in English, I'll watch the Japanese stuff because it's the stuff in the ring is just wow. But yeah, it looks like we're leaning towards Okada's redemption in this tournament.
If Okada doesn't have his redemption story in this tournament, Okada might have some problems.
What if Okada's the one that shows up on AEW? This forbidden door.
That is a possibility at this point.
This forbidden door has been kicked wide open, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter what brand you on. It doesn't matter if you were the main event of WrestleMania, you can show up, right? So what if this isn't his redemption and he just says, I've done everything in New Japan, which he has, in a sense. He has won the G1. He has the longest reign as the IWGP champion before. So what if he gets to say the finals or the semifinals and he loses and doesn't get that redemption? But the thing is, like,
but it could put him to the path. It could get him get that motivation back.
Yeah. It's either he wins the whole thing or he goes in a deeper losing streak and he has to find himself. Like, remember when he was changing tights and he went from tights to shorts back to tights and then his hair changed? It's like he has to find himself. Maybe that's the story where he goes into the tournament thinking that, you know what, I know I have a tough road, because his block looks his block looks less intimidating than the A block, because A block is Shingo, Ishii, Naito, Sabre Jr., Kenta, Ibushi. Those are like top name guys. And then you go in the B block, it's Tanahashi, Okada, Goto, Sanada, Taichi, Cobb, Evil, Yoshi. Yeah, like he has an easy.
Fuck Yoshi.
Yeah, but he does have an easier route to the finals in B block compared to who's coming out of the A block. Because you're in A block, you're going through some wars.
Oh yeah.
You're like Tonga Loa is no joke. Great Okan's no joke. Kenta's not a joke. Sabre Jr. with his stuff, he's no joke. Naito's not a joke. Nobody in A block is a joke. There's no layup matches in A block. Maybe Toriano is a layup match in A block, but other than that, you're going through a war in that block every night. You're going through a war. So if it is going to be his redemption song, like I'm even going. See, I gotta stop before I go crazy. I went ahead to Thursday, so night 3 of this, and just looking at the matches on Block A. Shingo and Sabre Jr., Kota, Ibushi, and Ishii. Come on, bro. Like, come on, bro.
Well,
like, I can't, man. But I just think there's other 2 ways of doing it. It's either he goes in a downward spiral and then he has to find his way back to whatever it is. Maybe it's even of coming to America and avenging that loss to Will Ospreay and taking the real world title from Will Ospreay. Maybe that's his story.
And I won't make you think anymore about this show.
Because I will be going down the rabbit hole looking at every night of this darn tournament and be like, yep, I gotta watch that, gotta watch that, gotta watch that.
We'll conclude with that, and we'll have all things G1 next week on the show. And that'll conclude our coverage of NJPW Wrestle Grand Slam. And we are wrestling with AEW All Out. It was the biggest show in pro wrestling for quite some time. That wasn't a WWE event. Some are saying it's one of the biggest of all time. Some are saying it's the biggest of this year. Let's get into it. TNT Championship match. Miro defeated Eddie Kingston in 13 minutes and 29 seconds. I can have a lot of problems with this show. I think that it was a solid show from beginning to end. But I kind of feel like you have to have a banger at the very beginning to kind of get the crowd going. And it wasn't a bad match, but I don't think that this was the match that maybe should have started the show. What say you, Drew?
If you don't put this match to start the show, what do you start the show with?
I mean, you could put Britt Baker, you could put, you could put Moxley and Kojima, considering what happened at the end of that match. I mean, there was a couple different scenarios.
I think the way that Tony Khan formatted the show made a lot of sense. Like, I am okay with this match like you. I was 100% okay with it, and I was okay with it going on first. Because, number one, Eddie Kingston was so over after his line on Rampage when they had their interaction. Yeah, and then what happened? He rolled out with the Redeem These Nuts t-shirt. Now that is available on AEW Shop. That's the thing I love about AEW. As soon as somebody says a hot line, it becomes product. It becomes a t-shirt. Bubbly is being made. They are very smart on their marketing. Like you said, you could have opened with Britt Baker. You could have opened with Moxley and Kojima. You could have opened even with the Casino Battle Royal. But to me, this match made sense to open the show. Give them a little curtain jerker. The fans love Eddie Kingston. The fans kind of are behind Miro. And honestly, I think this is some of the best work Miro has done in his career, even better than his Rusev Day stuff. I really believe when he cuts his promos, he actually believes what he's saying. These are not lies.
I was never the biggest fan of Rusev. I've always been very critical. But, you know, this version of Miro, and I'm not hating it, which is something to say.
I think he believes what he's saying, and he's backing it up in the ring. So this match, to me, good opener. Couldn't see whatever else you could have put as to open the show. You could have even said the match that was in the buy-in could have opened the show, but to each his own. But I don't see a problem with this match being the opener match.
All right. Next match, Jon Moxley defeated Satoshi Kojima in 11 minutes and 52 seconds. We kind of already knew who was going to win this match, but it was still a fun match. The people popped for Kojima, which is...
Yes, they did.
Which kind of added to the match.
Yes. This crowd was super over for everything that AEW was selling to them. Everything. You could have put SpongeBob versus Cinnamon Toast Crunch on the buy-in, and they would have ate it up. With Jeffrey from Toys R Us as the special guest referee, they would have ate it up. I'm dead serious. They would have ate it up. And I think what happened over this weekend, or over All Out weekend, is that it was the first time in a long time that wrestling fans could be excited about a wrestling show. I don't even think they were this excited for All In. That first show that preceded AEW.
Yes.
And I think this show, anything that came out was super hot and super over. They ate it up. Like I said, Cinnamon Toast Crunch going up against SpongeBob with Jeffrey from Toys R Us, special guest referee. Book it. They would eat it up. I'm dead serious. But it's what happened even after this match that got the crowd even super more excited.
Oh yeah. Minoru Suzuki came out and usually there's just a stare down. Suzuki and Moxley kind of had a little impromptu match, so to speak. They beat the crap out of each other, and Suzuki hit Moxley with the God style power driver, leaving him laying in the ring. I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that surprise.
But we can't. This is the era now. We can always expect the unexpected from AEW. This forbidden door, right? Anybody can walk through it at any time. And this night proved that 100%.
That brings us to our next match, AEW Women's Championship match. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, with Rebel, not Reaper, and Jamie Hayter defeated Chris Statlander with Orange Cassidy in 11 minutes and 30 seconds. Statlander's a great wrestler and all. I kind of felt like this match was maybe slightly cold because there was not a lot of build-up beforehand.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Nonetheless, people still loved it because, Britt Baker was in it.
Britt Baker is one of the most over people in AEW.
Yes.
Like I said, anything that was coming through down the ramp, they were for it. Like I totally agree with you. There was really a limited amount of build to this match. But because Britt Baker is so over, they were going to cheer for it regardless. And Chris Statlander is a great wrestler. I just hope she doesn't get lost in the shuffle with the new additions to the women's roster of AEW.
Oh, absolutely. And that brings us to the AEW World Tag Team Championship match. It's a steel cage. It's the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros. The Lucha Bros won in 21 minutes and 56 seconds. Definitely a car crash match if you like those. And I really enjoyed this match. What say you, Drew?
This was the most enjoyable 22 minutes that I've had. That didn't include my wife. Just joking. No, honestly, let me be serious for a moment here. It was the most enjoyable 22 minutes that I've had watching a professional wrestling match. It had ups, it had downs, we got Nike Air Force Ones with thumbtacks on them. We got Stooges throwing bags into the cage. We got and the thing was, even there's the crazy bumps were kept to a minimum. Like when Phoenix went to the top of the cage, he didn't do a 950 shooting star press off the top of the cage. It was a simple crossbody dive. But honestly, if I was, as a wrestling fan, and I was trying to introduce somebody to professional wrestling, these 22 minutes would be the 22 minutes that I would show them. Because this is what harkened back to what made all of us enjoy professional wrestling, because it got our emotion involved in it. When that shoe came out, you heard the crowd start chanting, "You sick F." Like, these are things that you cannot chant at a WWE show. This show was so, from the first match to this match, everything flowed. But this right here, if this was the end of the show, if this was, we're done for the night, we'll see you on Wednesday night, I'm telling you, the Chicago fan base would have went home happy. The entrance that the Lucha Brothers got with the guy rapping their theme song was so energetic. Them coming up with the stuff from the Mexican heritage was amazing. Everything that the Young Bucks entrance, everything that they did was so put together so perfectly well, and it's one of the best matches of the year to me right now. If I had to crown a match of 2021, I was my match before this one was Will Ospreay and Shingo Takagi for match of 2021, and also I could say Bianca Belair and Sasha from WrestleMania night one, but this match blew both of those matches out of the water for me. My thing is, yes, the Young Bucks don't have the titles anymore, but these guys, when you put these four in the ring together, it's magic. So I would love to see another match with these guys down the road, some other place.
Definitely, and it's not the first time they've wrestled. It's not even the fifth time. And, it's just kudos to them that they could have, 50 billion matches with each other and still have something fresh and new that we might have not seen prior to this. And on just another topic, Brian Cutler, is it Brian Cutler? Cutler.
Yes, it's Brian Cutler, yeah.
Yeah. He drew that bag with that shoe. One shot. That was legitimately a 20-foot.
Yeah, it's a 20-foot cage, and he threw that cleanly. Like, sign him up for the Bears, man.
First try, and I was like, damn! I was like, somebody practiced that before, and if not, still kudos to him. Because that was like, wow. But no, absolutely. A fantastic match. Sometimes with all the stupidness that the Young Bucks have done in recent months.
Their group, the Elite is supposedly playing that cowardly heel where we need uber amount of help, but we still say we're the best in the world kind of thing. But this match, just without even Brian Cutler's subtle thing by throwing the bag into the cage, wasn't too much. And then it wasn't Matt or Nick that took the shoe and then licked the bottom. I'm like, come on, man. Everything it wasn't even what they were doing match psychology wise. It was emotion. You were emotionally invested, and every kick out meant something, and every near fall meant something, and every they're climbing to the top of the cage, and every super kick, like the one sequence when they're throwing super kicks and then Penta ducks and then he gets up and he gets kicked, and then it's like everything, you were emotionally invested in these four guys, no matter if you were cheering for the Young Bucks or you were booing for the Young Bucks, or you were cheering for the Lucha Brothers. It took you on a ride. And that's why I said to me, timing was perfect. The 22 minutes didn't seem long, and it flew by, and you enjoyed every minute of it. And I went back and watched it again recently, and you still get enjoyment from it. And that's what I'm saying with what's going on now with the stuff in ring has been great over the last few years. But this match for me, hands down, I don't know if another match, maybe a match in the G1 tournament takes the crown, but right now this is my match of 2021.
All right. And we have the Women's Casino Battle Royal. Ruby Soho made her debut, eliminating Thunder Rosa to win in 22 minutes and 2 seconds. Soho got a pop, and people are really treating it, obviously Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, CM Punk, but Soho was mentioned in all of this, in this as well. So, and honestly, personally, I kind of feel great that she kind of got a little bit comeuppance as well. What are your thoughts, Drew?
They made her look like $1 million in 10 minutes. They booked her better than WWE had booked her for 4 years. Honestly, in 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Because they allowed her to be her. And that's what people want to see. No matter whatever you're tuning into, no matter if it's sports, no matter if it's professional wrestling, no matter if it's a dramatic TV show on Peacock, you want to be able to connect with the people. And Ruby Soho connected with people. That's why when she came out, you could see the legitimate joy that she had on her face, and the crowd had the same joy, and she enjoyed every moment of it. And they made her look like $1 million in 10 minutes. At the expense of my favorite wrestler in AEW, no, not Thunder Rosa, yes, and Jade Cargill was another one.
I can make the argument that Jade isn't ready at this point.
I agree. Like, she has 2 out of the 3 that you're looking for. She has the look and she can talk on the mic, but I don't think in ring right now she is 100%. I think polish that up and that's a superstar in the making. Especially if you turn her face.
And if she's going for, a Britt Baker right now, she'd probably just get eaten alive.
Yes.
That brings us to our next match, and you were pretty critical off air while we were talking about it. The final fight, Chris Jericho defeated MJF in 20 minutes and 55 seconds. I personally didn't have a problem with it. I mean, MJF has 3 wins over Jericho. They needed to have, a conclusion to the story where the face wins. And that's kind of what it is. I mean, it wasn't a 10-star match, but it kind of did what it needed to do, in my opinion. But I know you have a different opinion, Drew.
I have a major heavy different opinion because as a guy that's a major Chris Jericho mark, I'm a big Chris Jericho mark. I've been watching Chris Jericho from he joined ECW and then he was over in WCW as the Lionheart, and then he had arguably to me the greatest debut in the history of the WWE, being the Millennial Man. And then he's come to AEW, and yeah, he's done some amazing things. I just got tired. I think for me, the whole story with him and MJF was overkill. I think that story should have ended when MJF beat him at the last Labor, and that was it. And then MJF could have went off and done some other story. I get that they needed a complete blow off, but for the face to get the win. But I just think at the age and stage that Chris Jericho is in his career, putting over MJF would have helped MJF immensely, because MJF is a mark like me for Chris Jericho. So imagine him going around for the next how many years of his career saying, I'm the guy that put Y2J down. I'm the guy that put the Demo God down and Le Champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that would be his. That would have elevated him to that next step. And maybe it's just me personally. I love Chris Jericho, but at this stage of your career, you don't need wins over guys that are 23, 20, 22, 23 years old. Like you'll be the guys that criticize those old guys when you were coming up. Oh, they never jobbed to us and this, that, and the thought. Yes, you jobbed him 3 times, then it should have been done. MJF could have said no, and then that was the time where you're like, you know what? I got to go reevaluate. He doesn't wrestle for a while. He's on the commentary team. And then MJF could be the one that brings up the stipulation. Hey, you know what? I'll give you another match. But if you don't beat me, you're done. That would make sense. Because it's in his mind that I can't beat him. But, okay, it is what it is. It wasn't a 5-star match. I wasn't a fan of the restart, to be honest with you. And it could have kept it didn't need to happen. You could have kept this match on Dynamite, to be honest with you. Or Rampage.
Yeah. I mean, it's the biggest of pay-per-view, so they had to have Chris Jericho on it. So I understand that. and let's get to the match that why everybody bought this damn pay-per-view. CM Punk defeated Darby Allin in 16 minutes and 44 seconds. It wasn't Shawn Michaels Triple H at SummerSlam '02, but it did what it needed to do, and it was a pretty good match, if I do say so myself as well.
I don't know if you saw it, but in the early part of the match, they did a little spot that Brett and Sean Waltman, at the time he was a 1-2-3 kid, did like, oh, okay, I see you, young guy. Okay. And I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed everything that they did. This match, I wasn't expecting to see like a 5-star match, to be honest with you, because obviously we know Punk has not physically been inside of the square circle unless you watch Heels, episode 3. He's on episode 3 of Heels. You know what show I'm talking about?
Yes.
With Stephen Amell. He was on episode 3. I think his name was Ricky Rabies.
Yes.
His name was Ricky Rabies, and I watched him have the match with Stephen Amell, and he blew out his knee, and he's like, "Take us home, kid. Take us home, kid." And I was like, okay. So this and knowing that he was coming back to do an actual match in AEW, and watching that episode, which I enjoy that show very much. I think it's one of the best kept secrets when it comes to a thing outside of the universe of professional wrestling. But this match, he looked great for somebody that hadn't been in the ring for 7 years. Darby taking the loss doesn't hurt him, because arguably Darby Allin is one of the top stars in AEW. It's him, Britt Baker, Jungle Boy are your 3 cornerstone guys that are non marks like ourselves would know about. Those 3 are the pillars, and I would have to say Adam Hangman Page is the other guy that was an unknown and was built kind of in the AEW market, and MJF to an extent. But Punk beating him doesn't hurt him down the line, and you'll probably see Punk go up or do a trios match with him, with Darby and Sting, with Daniel Garcia in 2.0 somewhere down the road. But I didn't have a problem with this match. It's true, everybody bought the pay-per-view to see Punk's return, and he didn't disappoint.
Absolutely. What'd you think of the long tights on Punk?
You're older. Punk's a little bit older than I am. Yeah, there's sometimes that flattering shorts or tights don't really look good on a guy. You know what I mean? You're getting up there in there, so you got to cover the legs.
All right. And that brings us to the next match. Paul White defeated QT Marshall in 3 minutes and 2 seconds. This was definitely more of a popcorn match, which I kind of disappointed in, because Paul White was a big part of wrestling and can still be a big part of wrestling, but I did sense that he maybe not been able to go as well as he has in the past. Did you pick that up too, Drew? And what did you think of that?
I did, because he's just coming off hip surgery.
Yeah.
He's coming off hip surgery, and especially a guy his size. I didn't expect anything more. I think this was more of that cool down match, like when they gave us the tag team cage match, and then went to the casino battle royal. That's the cool down period. Yeah. I think this match between the Punk match and the main event is that cool down period. So giving them 3 minutes to go out there, and Paul White bashes in QT Marshall's head. I just thought he should have used the punch instead of the choke slam to finish him. But other than that, I understand why they did what they did.
All right. And that brings us to the AEW World Championship match. Kenny Omega versus he defeated Christian Cage in 22 minutes and 1 second. Honestly, I was so gassed at this point that it felt like, Hogan and Rock, then watching Jericho, Triple H, WrestleMania 18. What was your thoughts?
I had the same thoughts because I was in the crowd for WrestleMania 18 from the lovely Skydome here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And yeah, you would be burnt out because you look at it, you got 22 minutes of that great tag team match. You got the return of Punk with Darby Allin for 16 minutes. And then, yeah, you only kind of got 3 minutes to cool down. And then you go into Omega and Cage. And yeah, like I said this on my previous show over at the Gr8ful Yardy Podcast, is that I really thought that they should have closed the show with Punk and Allin because everybody bought the pay-per-view to see Punk. So I think they should have closed the show with Punk. And earlier on, before the pay-per-view, when I saw that they were going to put the title match, first thing I said was that's the wrong thing to do. It's a bad mistake. You could have sent the crowd home in Chicago happy with CM Punk winning the match. But I understood why you did what you did because of whom showed up after the main event.
Right. And that brings us to that moment. After the match with Cage and Omega, they had a beatdown of Christian, which proceeded for Adam Cole to come out and aligned himself with the Elite once again, the same people that murdered him 4 years ago. And then after that, Bryan Danielson made his AEW return, making the save, getting a little physical, and sending the crowd away happy. Before I forget, to kind of reiterate what you said about the crowd being gassed, I mean, even the cool down match, the women's battle royal, people popped hard for Ruby Soho. So even the cool down match got a bigger pop than Omega and Christian. But let's talk about Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole and what this means for pro wrestling right now. Drew.
I'm gonna agree with Punk. I don't know if you saw the they did like a press thing at the end of the show, and Punk said this moment is bigger than when Hall showed up on Nitro. And I totally agree with that because you're talking about a guy in April of this year being a part of the main event of the WWE's biggest show. And fast forward, what?
6 months?
6 months later, he's showing up on the rival show. Like, let's call a spade a spade. AEW is legit competition to WWE. Hands down. This is Donda versus Certified Lover Boy. That's what it is. Adam Cole, the cornerstone of NXT, the longest reigning champion in the history of that brand, that was just on the latest takeover, what, a month ago? Or less than a month ago?
Yeah.
Shows up on AEW television or on the AEW pay-per-view? These are not guys that were sitting out on the sidelines waiting for their 90-day no compete. Their contracts were legitly up, and they're like, man, I see what's going on over at AEW. I'm joining those dudes over there. Boom, just like that. This changes the trajectory of wrestling because there's going to be guys that are on the WWE roster that feel like they are not being utilized that will legitly wait out their contract. They won't ask for a release where they have to sit at home for 90 days or 60 days. They will legitly wait out their contract. And if Tony Khan, as he says before, this is not like the NFL where there is a salary cap. If he has the money and the guys want to come and work, he will sign them. This is not like when Eric Bischoff was signing Hogan and Hall and Nash and Macho Man and Gene Okerlund and Bobby the Brain Heenan, the guys that were kind of over the hill. That could have gave you another maybe year or two. These are guys that are in their legit prime. Like, yeah, Brian Danielson is my age. He's 40. Okay, but
he could still go.
He can still go. Adam Cole's what? In his late 20s, early 30s? Still can go.
Mid-30s, I believe.
Okay. Still can go.
Yeah.
We're not talking about guys that are 40, 45 years old. We're talking guys that legitimately have kept themselves. Well, I'm looking up Adam Cole's age. He's 32. Adam Cole is 32 years old.
Okay.
32 years old. And you're now you're able to go and work with your friends and be creative. Everybody talks about Adam Cole's the next Shawn Michaels. No, I think Adam Cole is better. And you can quote me on this. Adam Cole is better than Shawn Michaels is. Adam Cole can talk on the mic. Adam Cole can go in the ring, and he looks like $1 million, and the women them love him. He ain't an ugly dude. Sean can kind of cut a promo. Obviously, he's the everybody says is the greatest in-ring worker of all time, and I'm not going to dispute that. But he couldn't really talk on the mic, and he was a decent look. He's a good-looking guy earlier on in his career.
Yeah, he's a sexy boy.
Adam Cole has everything. He looks great, can speak on the mic, and can go in the ring. And now this guy left the WWE because you heard the rumor that they wanted to pair him with Keith Lee for Keith Lee to be him to be Keith Lee's manager.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I mean, that's how they viewed him, which is incredible.
Exactly. And I could understand why guys are like, that's what you're offering me?
And I can understand.
My boy's got a promotion. I'm going over there. It's not like.
What I was going to say was, I can understand where he would have made that work because he's Adam Cole. My problem with is they wanted to change his name from Adam Cole because Michael Cole was on commentary. Get Michael Cole the fuck off commentary because Adam Cole needs to be Adam Cole. That's what I had the hiccup.
Yeah. It's like when I just don't get letting these two top guys go. Yeah, Brian didn't say anything bad about WWE or they were holding him back or anything like that and all that, and he has nothing but love for them. But to be honest with you, what else was there for the character of Brian or Daniel Bryan to do in the WWE?
Right.
What he was like, to be honest with you, he loses the way he lost, which was embarrassing. He got stacked and folded by the tribal chief. Okay, so he comes back and what? Redeems himself? I get why he's there because there is a bunch of guys that he can work with that he's never worked with before, and he gets to work with them the way that Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, wants to work with him. So I totally understand why you would jump ship. I totally understand why Adam Cole would jump ship. I totally understand why Ruby Soho jumped ship. I totally understand why Punk saw the opportunity to come back to pro wrestling because now it is fun again. Up north, as they called it back in the day, it's sports entertainment. That's what you're doing. You're not in pro wrestling. You're a sports entertainer. You're a WWE superstar. Changing, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, these guys have developed characters before they got to WWE. Like, Adam Cole's character was already developed before he showed up to form the Undisputed Era when he did.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Bryan Danielson already had years of Japan and Mexico, all around the world, being the Ring of Honor champion, all that kind of stuff before he showed up in WWE. And I just feel like they watered him down. And that's what they would probably do to Adam Cole. Water him down. Call him like Cole Alexander or something.
Oh God. Yeah.
Like it's I don't know if you saw what Mick Foley said after All Out 2.
Yes.
That WWE has a problem. And if I was a young guy, I don't know if I'm going to WWE because you have created your own character outside of this company and fans know you from this character. So Adam Cole can't be Adam Cole. He's now James Adams or something. They're gonna spin on it. They're gonna be like, that's Adam Cole.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
So I understand to an extent why all those people left. I understand you're not being used. You're like Andrade sitting in catering for 4 years, Malachi Black sitting in catering and not doing anything. I totally get why they left. I get it. You got your release and you can go somewhere else where you can utilize your creativity and be a creative. So be it. But this move in this moment, yes, the Punk moment was huge. This moment is also huge. This right now is a flag in the ground saying, hey, WWE, we are your competition. Hands down.
now, we got Daniel Bryan, Ryan Danielson, Adam Cole, CM Punk. And I enjoyed the moment. It was a great moment. And these guys are here and they're here to stay. My problem is, Brian Danielson. That's gonna be hard to remember. He's going straight for Kenny Omega. What happens to Hangman Page? CM Punk defeated Darby Allin. Where does Darby Allin go? The stars that they made. My problem is the stars that they made that are AEW originals kind of getting lost in the shuffle, kind of getting played in the undercard, and maybe not getting those opportunities in those championship matches that they would get if there wasn't a Daniel Bryan or Adam Cole on the card. Could you agree, disagree?
I agree with you. And this is the problem that a good old company that went to bed in 2001 had. That's WCW. They had great stars under the card. You had Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Chris Jericho. You had Rey Mysterio at the time. You had that whole cruiserweight division.
They had Stone Cold and The Rock. They had Stone Cold and Triple H at one point.
There's 3 guys that were at WCW that ended up becoming major stars in WWE. Mark Callis, a.k.a. The Undertaker. Then you had Terrorizing, or John Paul Levesque, which is Triple H. And Stunning Steve Austin, which is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Those 3 all wrestled in WCW. And a good friend of ours that we all love, and God rest his soul, Dusty Rhodes, didn't see money in them. Same with, there's another guy that was wrestling in California named Samoa Joe that both Bruce Pritchard and Jim Ross told to get out of wrestling because he wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
So, like you were saying, the originals of AEWs, the Darbys, the Hangman Pages, the MJFs, with these guys being there, hurts their push, in a sense. It does hurt their push because they're now the flavors of the month. So like the first match that Bryan Danielson is going to have is going to be against Kenny Omega. Okay, we're going to get a 5-star match, arguably.
But it doesn't do anything for Kenny. Kenny has Daniel Bryan is not going to give a rub to Daniel Bryan.
And we're also forgetting guys that they also have brought in before these guys. What happens to Pac? What happens to Andrade?
Malachi.
You know what I mean? Like Malachi Black, which to me, I love everything that guy does. Anytime his entrance hits on the TV, I'm glued to it.
He needs to be
and his matches.
He needs to be AEW champion in the next 6 months.
Yes. Like, my thing is, it was a great moment, and yeah, it's like seeing a unicorn. Wow, amazing. Now what next? I don't know if you remember this cartoon, Roadrunner and Coyote. Coyote catches Roadrunner on 2 separate occasions.
Really?
And looks at us, breaks the 4th wall, and looks at us and puts up a sign and says, "What do I do now?" You know why? Because the whole story was his pursuit of the Roadrunner. Now he finally gets him. The story ends. So Daniel Bryan wins the championship from Kenny Omega. What happens to Kenny Omega? What happens to the Elite? Right? What happens? Is there infighting? What happens? CM Punk goes on this great run and he beats all the young guys that are in AEW. He beats Darby. Then he beats Daniel Garcia, which is another guy that's coming up. I don't know if you watched the Dynamite after All Out.
Yes.
But he challenges members of Team Taz, which are all young guys. Ricky Starks, Hobbs. I think he even challenged Hook.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to go over because you're the big guy coming in. Unless you're saying, no, I'm going to lose. And here's the thing, and he even admitted this on Renee's podcast, that the win and loss thing in AEW, it's hard. It's hard to keep up with.
Yes.
Because it's not like, like if I'm watching MMA and I'm watching a fight between this guy and this guy, and he has a record of 12-4, and this guy has a record of 5-0. Okay, because we know they've fought other people maybe in the company or outside of the company, and this is the professional thing. With AEW, yeah, a guy, I've seen so many records. That guy 19-3. Moxley is 37-3 over the last 2 years. It's like, okay, like, but if Moxley has a better win-loss percentage, why did Christian get a championship match?
Yeah. Don't get us started on the wins and loss matters thing, because we have gone into that into detail, and it doesn't make sense. And if there was one thing that I really wish that AEW would get rid of, it is that wins and losses matters, and
it has to go,
and the rankings,
because
system.
it does not work. Like, either you do rankings or either you make weight classes. Those are the only. If you're trying to be non-WWE and be legitimate sport, if you will, you have to find a way to be legitimate sport. Like, what works in mixed martial arts is the weight class. So somebody that's 265 pounds is not going to be fighting somebody that has to weigh in at 135. You know that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You're not going to see Powerhouse Hobbs go up against Darby Allin in a match.
Right.
But then that takes away. Yeah, that takes away from what we love about wrestling. Yeah. The big guy goes. The big guy is David versus Goliath. That's what we know. So when you say win losses matter, so CM Punk goes and fights, let's say, Powerhouse Hobbs and beats him. So now Powerhouse Hobbs looks like a jobber. Then CM Punk goes and faces Ricky Starks, and faces him for the FTW belt and beats him. Now Ricky Starks looks like a chump. So all of Team Taz look like chumps.
Well,
like what they're doing with Miro in the TNT Championship. Yeah, it makes sense. He was going after people that he know he could beat. He know he could beat Fuego and all that. Like, those are squash matches. So now when he challenges Eddie Kingston, it's believable that now Eddie Kingston could actually beat Miro for the TNT Championship. It makes sense. I think bringing in all these guys are great for the moment. It pops the internet. Oh, we got 200 buys on the pay-per-view, or 200,000 buys on the pay-per-view. It's the greatest pay-per-view of all time. And I'm not disputing any of that completely. It was one of the best wrestling shows I've watched in a long time. Yes, at the end, like you said, it kind of fell off because it was a little too long. Just a little bit too long. But with all of this momentum now, it's what are you going to do with it?
Yes.
What are you going to do with this momentum? You have Punk, you have Cole, you have Danielson, you have Ruby Soho. Now everybody's like, oh, let's look who's left. Bray Wyatt's contract's up on Halloween. His 90 days is up on Halloween. What if everybody can't join AEW?
Yeah.
Everybody can't join AEW, then it becomes WWE light. That's what it becomes. It's all elite it's all elite wrestling entertainment. That's what it becomes.
Yeah.
Because you can't sign everybody that used to work there. You know what? I would love Bray Wyatt to show up on Impact Wrestling. Show up there with his brother and with Braun Strowman. Show up there. Feud with Decay. Bring in another female that's a free agent and make her be Sister Abigail. And do what you really wanted to do in WWE outside of WWE. Yeah, like, do something like that. Yeah. I don't want, like, now, to me, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm putting a stop at signing anybody. I signed 3 big names in the last 3 weeks. I don't need to sign any big names. Anybody that I'm signing is kind of like an unknown, like a Lee Moriarty got signed recently. Yeah. Or somebody, like somebody that's on the indies, or somebody that's contracts up in Ring of Honor, or somebody that was in Impact and their contracts is up and want to come over to AEW, like Akira Hogan, stuff like that. Sign those guys. You've done your big shopping already. Like, if you look at it the way like you do sports, like, okay, there's a big name free agent coming out this summer in the NBA. We'll just say it's Giannis is the big guy, even though he's not. So if you were able to get him, right? And then you got Giannis, then you got Joel Embiid, and then you got Dame Lillard. You don't need to do any more heavy lifting for a while. Your team is good. And I think AEW's team is completely good after picking up these Punk, Soho, Cole, Bryan Danielson. Your heavy lifting when it comes to name cachet superstars is done. Anybody else that you're signing should be those guys that are filling up Dark and Dark Elevation, or some guys that have been wrestling on Dark and now come up and start feuding. That's why I was happy with seeing MJF feuding with Brian Pillman Jr. I'm all for that. And then the whole dissension with MJF and Warlord, that makes sense to me because you guys are original to AEW. Don't start bringing in people from that were wrestling in WWE because you're going to water down your own product. And what you should worry about, don't worry about what AEW should not be worrying about what WWE is doing over there. Let WWE do what they're doing. You focus on you. You focus on what you're doing, and you putting out the best wrestling show to wrestling fans. And that's all you got to worry about. And once you realize that yes, they are competition, because I know Coke doesn't worry about Pepsi and Pepsi doesn't worry about Coke. They put out their product, right?
Right.
And that's what these two wrestling companies do too. And I think Vince and Nick Khan and that team worry about themselves, and then AEW is worrying about looking good to their big brother. You can't. You got to be your own thing. You got to be your own thing. And if you're going to be the alternative, be the alternative. But your heavy lifting of signing big name stars is over. Stop it, because then you're going to water down your product. And those guys that are AEW originals, like the MJFs, the Darby Allins, the Jungle Boys, the Hangman Pages, the Dark Order guys. You know, all of those guys that were originally signed to AEW are going to get lost in the shovel if you continuously bring in known superstars.
Now, since we covered everything of this pay preview, was this a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle?
It's 2 thumbs up, way up to the sky.
Oh yeah,
Arguably it's the best show of 2021.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
It's the best show of 2021. Right as we speak today, it's the best show of 2021.
And that will conclude our coverage of AEW All Out and this episode. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me, Drew.
And it's always a good thing to talk to other fellow wrestling fans where we can agree, disagree, maybe collar and elbow tie up, and maybe do a hip toss and go for the 1, 2, 3.
Absolutely. And if you want more Drew, you can find him on the Gr8ful Yardy Podcast. Can you tell us where we could find all of that?
Gr8ful Yardy Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Overcast. We're everywhere now. Thanks to our great friends over at Anchor.fm. And also you can check out Anchor.fm. We're there too. For me on the social media thing, that is Drew Wrestling 99 on Twitter. Instagram is Drew_Wrestling99. And our Facebook page is facebook.com/Gr8ful, and Gr8ful is spelled GR8FUL.
And if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, vote on YouTube and Castbox. Join me this Wednesday as I interview Germany's greatest secret, Germany's best kept secret, Lori. And follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at WrestlingWithE for all of your Wrestling with Entertainment needs. You could follow all of us individually as well. I am at JamesJ993. You can follow Kaliko at I am Kaliko, and you can follow Scooter Dust at Scooter Dust. For our special guest, Drew, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James Shane, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.